Welcome to Unpacking Brain Drama. I am Pratiti Pathak, and I am your guide and your host on this amazing journey of self-discovery, self-empowerment, and intentional living. And today, I am actually with a heavy heart. I am going to be talking about something that is super personal to me, and I know that I do this a lot. Because I love talking about things that touch me deeply. And today is going to be a really unbelievable transformational episode. And it is about 17 years with my son, Devin, and 17 years without him. And what living in that grief has really taught me about living intentionally. So, hello, Trailblazers. I'm super happy, as always, to have you with me. And today's episode, like I said, is going to be a very personal one to me. And tomorrow marks 17 years without my son, Devin, and 17 years with him. So 17 years of loving him and 17 years of loving him and missing him. And there's something about that number, right? It feels like two timelines existing at the same time. The life that was, and then the life that I've had to consciously choose to create for myself after. And if you are like me, unfortunately, but if you have ever experienced deep loss, you know this isn't something you just get over. It isn't something you just move on from or move forward with. Um, and for a long time, I didn't even realize how much of my life was being lived on this, like this repeating the event over and over, right? This is what I usually refer to as the autopilot, the pattern, right? That you get yourself stuck in. And a lot of times we want to be stuck there, right? We feel like we would be abandoning, our responsibility of being stuck in that. So, we don't do it, we like it's the autopilot that I was living from that loss, not because I just no longer cared anymore, but because my brain and my body are designed to protect me, right? So I was listening to something this morning by Joe Dispenza, who I absolutely love. And if you're not familiar with his work, I would highly, highly, highly recommend you to get familiar with his work. He talks about the same exact things that I do when it comes to living by being intentional. Just want to check here because I think that I am currently on with you guys. Okay, so I was listening to Joe Dispenza this morning, and he was talking about when a moment in our life when we have experienced something that is difficult. Okay, I'll just say that it's a big experience, such as this. I'll refer to it as this, my loss. So from the moment that I found that out, right, my brain registered it, and then my body, my brain sent signals to my body. It's like danger, danger, something terrible has gone wrong here. Automatically my body will respond by pumping out some chemicals in my body, right? Cortisol to name one. But your body will start pumping out some chemicals, and then you go into this fight or flight or freeze or faint moment. And even after that moment is over, right? There was a moment where I got a phone call, rushed to the hospital, saw my son, found out everything, informed everybody. People came to my house. We had a a ceremony for him. We had service for him. And then let's just say some time goes by, we stay in that survival mode, right? We repeat, like I kept thinking about it over and over, recreating that feeling for myself. And then it was like repeating the incident all over again, over and over and over. That's what we do, right? We go into survival. Some of us, I know for me, we go numb, we avoid, we repeat the same patterns over and over. We stay busy, we distract, right? We try to do all these different things. And from the outside, it just looks like we're functioning. But inside, we're just trying to get through the day, right? So, how do you even do that? What happens in that moment, and then all the moments to come after. So for quite many years, I relived that moment over and over. There were even times where I might be on the road driving. One specific memory that I have is like I'm on the road driving and I'm behind this school bus, and it was just in an instant, the bus flashed a light, like it just had an automatic light that flashed. And when that light flashed, it instantly took me literally to the scene of where my son's accident was. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my son Devin was 17 and was with some friends, and they had climbed a high voltage structure, and my son had come into contact with a high voltage wire and had fallen about 40 feet, and it took his life. And I wasn't there for it. I got the phone call after the fact. Um, but in this moment, this light flashed in front of me as I was driving, and it was early morning. So it was kind of dawn, it was still kind of dark out. And it just instantly like catapulted me, transported me to the scene of his accident where I really wasn't even there. So it's not like I actually had a memory of it. The memory that I had created in my mind is what actually came up. And all of a sudden, like I was reliving this moment as if I was there and it was happening. And I will tell you that if you are somebody who's experienced deep grief, this is probably something you could relate to. So it's that type of situation that you can get into a loop, right? Where it just is reoccurring. It's like if you've ever had like a reoccurring dream or nightmare, that's what it's like, right? So fast forward many years later, learning about the patterns that I had gotten myself stuck in recently. Now today I have shifted my entire life. I'm now a realtor and a life coach, and I help other people grow through what they go through. That's something I say all the time, especially if you're here on this channel with me. You'll kind of know what my language is around that. And recently, I had the opportunity to write a chapter in an anthology called Breaking the Silence. And it is about transformation and resilience and about growing through what you go through and turning your pain into purpose, right? So I had an opportunity to put my words, right? Put my story, I should say, into words on paper, which brought me back into those moments that I don't always visit the same way I used to today as I did back then, right? Not because I don't remember it or not, and also not because I don't want to remember it. Devin is a part of my life every day, all day. He dictates how I dress lots of times and what colors I want to wear. Today I'm wearing a necklace that is a crystal that represents and some of their healing properties are built around deep grief and growth and intuition and resilience and transformation. So I do so many things in my life that are based around the two of us, right? Because I carry him everywhere with me, though I've learned over the years how to carry it differently. Okay. So it's not because I don't visit these moments. I I spend time in these moments differently, right? I carry it differently with me. And as I was writing, I found myself reconnecting with a version of me who was still navigating this unimaginable loss, right? It came rushing right back. While I was still trying to figure out who she even was, right? That version of me. Um, and it was really fascinating to see how easy it was for me to just slip right back into that version of me, that has had a tremendous amount of growth, a tremendous amount of transformation, and that has done so much deep work into my emotions and into my loss. But I realized there was so many things that I hadn't even really addressed. There was a version of me who still yet didn't even have the tools that I have now, the awareness that I have now to even understand what was happening to her at that time and inside of her. Like she didn't know. And what I realized through this process, and I'm grateful for the process because I am always so grateful and I am very eager always to learn more and more about me, which is what I always want to encourage all of you beautiful trailblazers, that are with me, is dive deep on who you are to learn as much as you can about yourself, because I feel like that is the point, right? Um, and what I learned through this process is this, okay? So much of my life back then was literally just being lived in this unconscious pattern, this unconscious loop, right? This pattern of survival and pattern of protection, just patterns that were just 100% shaped by pain, right? Something that I had been very familiar with, so much of my life, just different pain points all the way leading up to like the biggest and the hardest and the worst pain ever. And by everything I had already been through in my life, it was all shaped in pain. And here's the truth, okay? At the time, and maybe some of you guys are there right now, right? But at that time, I didn't actually know that I had a choice. I didn't actually know that I could choose something different. Is that crazy? Like, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't actually know that my thoughts were even creating my emotional experience, that it was my thinking and the sentences that were running through my head, like, I can't believe this is happening, that were dictating and driving all of it. Like it was creating all of my chemicals that were being created in my body, which are your feelings, they're your emotions, right? I didn't know that my reactions weren't flaws, right? They were just conditioned responses, right? It's like, this is terrible, I'm down on the floor, I can't move, I can't function. I didn't know that that was actually living on autopilot. Maybe not in that very moment. I'm not talking about when it initially happened. I'm talking about all the years, so many years of um, the aftermath of that, right? And just reliving it over and over. And I noticed some people, right, because I was part of a support group, and I remembered noticing some parents that were handling it so much better than me. Some of them were just burying themselves into work. I buried myself into a bottle of wine, so much of the time. And I didn't know how to find peace with all of it, right? Back then. And what I noticed by writing this chapter, that I could literally just, I could see that version of me so differently. Okay. But by writing this chapter, what it allowed me to see, um, is just how far I've come. And it's been truly awakening for me and empowering. And it feels so amazing. Like tomorrow, I actually have a full day function. I have a full day event that I committed to last year. Like I purchased the VIP ticket for the Growth Now Summit tomorrow, and I'm going to be a part of that all day tomorrow. And all of these years, all 17 years, I have never ever scheduled anything on Bevan's birthday or his anniversary because I've never allowed myself to commit to anything on those days, just in case I don't feel like doing anything, which is amazing, right? Because 17 years, you would think, well, you should be fine. That's not always true. And that's not a real thing. There's no shoulds, right? But I am just so proud of myself for how far I've come. And more importantly, how powerful it is to become aware, right? When I think about growth and I think about my future self and I think about my past version of myself, really, I just always want to think about who am I becoming, right? I'm always becoming somebody who gets more and more awareness about who I am and what I'm made of and what I'm capable of and all the things that I could do, right? It's what's been running in the background of all of our lives, right? And like realizing how far I've come and how much awareness I've had has literally been the biggest game changer of my entire life, to be quite honest. And there's people I've had to leave behind, and there's new people that I've gotten the opportunity and have gratitude to be able to meet and evolve, right? So this awareness shift that I have created for myself and I do with other people, it's what I now call living in the steal, the STEAL, right? Where your patterns, your pain, your past quietly are stealing your life experiences now and future, right? And I have an entire framework around this concept, but because when we don't consciously choose how we want to think about something, so we know how we want to respond to something, and we just live in the reaction, our mind defaults to what we already know, which is the reactive part of us, right? So after loss, what is it that we know is pain, right? We only know pain, fear, protection, anger, sadness, debilitating depression, and grief, right? So without even realizing, we start living in a loop, right? That same thought keeps happening, right? I that same thought keeps reoccurring. So of course, the same emotional patterns keep reoccurring. And then from there, the same reactions, right? Just a different day, same experience over and over and over. Give me a heck yeah if that resonates, right? Put it in there because somewhere along the way, I had a major turning point, right? When did that happen? Oh, I had a moment, right? I had a moment where I just realized that I couldn't control what had happened to Devin, to my son. But what I could control, which I didn't realize that before, but what I realized that what I could control was whether I chose to lose myself over and over again, right? I lost him once. I lost myself over and over and over, and day after day, and week and month after month, and year after year. I just kept losing pieces of me, right? And that was the hard truth. And I say hard because it's not easy. I remember saying, my mom used to say, all the years of me growing up, and she would say, the truth hurts sometimes, right? The truth is hard to see and to hear and to live because staying in that pain almost felt like staying connected to him. Does that make sense? I didn't want to let go of the pain because somehow letting go of pain and letting go of summary somehow felt like I was leaving him behind. And that wasn't true, but it is how I felt. And when I began to understand this, then it shifted everything for me. I realized I'm not honoring him. I don't honor him by staying broken, right? By staying lost, by staying small and just literally broken. That's how I felt. And I somehow thought that was honoring him and that was staying connected until I realized, no, it doesn't actually honor him by me staying broken. I honor him now when I choose to live and be the best version of myself and to be resilient and take ownership and live with intentionality, right? That's the ROI. And that's the return on that investment, investing in me, investing in my thought, my choice of thoughts, investing in my emotional health, my mental health, and stop living this reactive life, right? This is where my life shifted from survival to design, right? My father's an architect, and I just decided that I could draft and design a life that I want to live. Right. And this is the foundation of everything that I do today. And it's the foundation of everything I teach today. Resilience, ownership, intentional. Resilience is not about being strong all the time. It's about allowing yourself to feel fully without shutting down and without trying to escape. Okay. Let me say that again. Resilience is not about being strong all the time. It's about allowing yourself to feel all the feelings fully without shutting down or escaping. Okay. The second part of that is taking ownership. Ownership is recognizing that while you didn't choose what happened, whatever event that is for you, you do get to choose what you create from it, from the thing, whatever that is for you. I've had many in my life. Losing my child was definitely one of the largest things that has ever happened to me, the largest, the most difficult, right? And then the third part is intentional. Okay, that's deciding on purpose. Okay, not it's on how you want to live moving forward. And that there's no clean version of this. It's messy. If you've had an opportunity to buy my book, Breaking the Silence, Volume 4, and go to Chapter 9, you will see how messy it was for me. So it's how you want to live moving forward. Not by default, not by habit, not by your past, but by design, on purpose, choosing it, creating it, designing it, right? Here's what I've come to believe. We are all, okay, I do believe this, honestly. We are all living in two timelines, okay? The life before something has happened to us, and then the life we get to choose next. Right? And that has happened to me many different times. There was before and after marriage, and before and after divorce, and before and after Devin, and before and after losing Devin. Right? There's lots of different things. And if we're not aware, we stay stuck in the first part of it, in the losing. Okay, and this has happened for lots of people. I know even right now, there's lots of people that struggle with PTSD. That's post-traumatic stress disorder. What is post-traumatic? Post-trauma, after trauma, after the thing that has happened, the experience where we got stuck. Okay, that is being stuck in after the trauma. And if we're not aware, we will stay stuck there, replaying it over and over and over, reliving it over and over and over. If you've ever talked to anybody who's gone through war, they do replay it, they do relive it. And then it defines us, right? So when we stay stuck there, we are letting it define who we are. And a lot of times I can say that I defined myself as a mother who lost a child, a mother who's gone through this, a woman who's gone through that. But when we step into intention, we begin to create a new timeline, one that includes our pain, but isn't controlled by it. That's the shift right there. We still have it. I still have the pain. If you're close to me, you know I've been crying a lot lately in this past half a year. Right? 17 years later, I don't live without him. I live with him in a different way. Okay? I say this all the time. Time doesn't heal. Time changes your relationship. What changes over time is your relationship with the experience. For me, it changes the relationship for me with Devin and with the loss of Devin. Okay, so I don't live without him. I just live with him in a different way. How? In the way that I show up, in how I love, how I serve myself and others, how I choose to live my life every day. Some days are not so great. Some days are amazing. And I want all of it, right? He is a part of every decision I make, not from a place of pain, not from a place of hurting, but from a place of honor and celebration of him and who he was and what he stood for. One of the most amazing humans I've ever known. I'm honored to be his mother. How can I honor him or being his mother if I'm just living in pain and grief? Right? So I want to offer this to you. Whatever you've been through, it's not worse or better or anything. It's just whatever you've been through, whatever you're carrying, you don't have to stay in survival mode. You don't have to keep living on the autopilot, right? Ask yourself, where am I repeating a pattern that is no longer serving me? More, even what's the pattern I keep living that is actually hurting me, right? Where am I letting my past dictate my present? That's a big question. Where am I waiting instead of choosing? And what would it look like to take your own life back? Take your life back behind the wheel, in charge, in the driver's seat. Okay? Grief didn't just take me away from myself, it clarified me. Okay? Grief didn't just take me from pain and suffering, right? It also took me to show me what matters to me. It brought me to a place where it showed me who I am, what I'm made of, right? It showed me that even in the darkest and deepest moments, in the deepest pain, that I still had a choice. That was profound, you guys. That's just so big and so important to remind yourself you're powerful. And no matter when you're in the deepest, darkest moments, you still have a choice, right? And that choice, it can't change what happened. right? What has already happened has already happened. What it can change is how you choose to live after the thing has happened. And today, I don't just live for me. I live in a way that honors Devin, that honors him. He's the one that brought all this together, right? I couldn't even imagine becoming this version of myself without losing him. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank you for being here with me today because it means a lot to me. And if this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone else that it might also speak to because it does matter. It matters so much to me that the right words get to the right people at the right time. And that right time is always now. It's never too late. It's not like time's gone by, can't do anything about it. The time is always now. Share it with somebody who might need it. Share it with yourself over and over. And as always, I want you all to always live your life with intention. Create that result by design, not by default. So until next time, Trailblazers, I love you. And I am right here for you, going through it with you. And reach out, send me a private DM. If you want to talk about things with me, I'm here for you. I have an amazing safe space and container for you to be in here with me. I love you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your afternoon and a